and we're live. And we've actually, did more bug fixing apparently than CTPR.
Yep.
What a shit show! What a shit show!
More technical expertise went into this than
Then
half
in
the
the
game.
in the release of one of the most expected games of the at least, yeah, you can actually say of the decade, right?
Yep. Yep.
Jesus.
Actually, and we're at the end of the decade too, so
how
we
how
we
topical.
have authority. Yep.
I guess a little introduction in case anyone watches this video. um, we both were kind of looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
But yeah.
me a little bit less than you because I'm more of a fantasy medieval kind of guy. But I,
I wouldn't be sure really,
I see.
because I haven't really kept track of Cyberpunk 2077 at all. Almost at all. I was aware it existed, and I'd seen a couple of the trailers and such, but I'd seen how scripted they were, so I had zero investment in it. If I don't see gameplay, I really don't care.
Yeah,
No matter what the premise is. So yeah, I wasn't that into it in the sense that I was hyped or excited about it. I just had it in my mind because everyone was talking about it, and I said, "Hey, when it comes out, I know it's gonna be on GOG. I'm just gonna check it out immediately and see what's it's like."
I guess, I
And
guess, I
I
guess,
did.
I guess the fun part is that it was less, the hype was less about Cyberpunk itself, but more because it was a CD Projekt Red game.
Yeah, yeah.
And that worked out well, didn't it?
Yes, yes. Follow your favorite corporation, consume product. Please take this product and consume it.
Yeah. To be fair, we first after our first impressions of the game after it or shortly before it got released, to be pedantically accurate, I think both our assessment was somewhat along the lines of it looks unfinished.
Yep,
But give it 6 months to a year, and maybe a price dip from the, in my opinion, generally overpriced $60 tag to a more normal 40, and it would be worth the investment.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
CDPR managed actually to, for once in quite a while, for the first time in quite a while, to prove my first impression wrong. It was so much worse.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've arrived at the position that I'm not going to get the game at all. The reasons behind I will probably explain more in this video. But for full disclosure, I haven't played the game yet, or probably never will. And that I know that immediately disqualifies every criticism I have because, in the times of YouTube where you can watch entire games without ever touching them, you cannot possibly judge a game without actually buying and playing it through. At which point, all your criticism is incredible because if it was so bad, then why did you play it through? Huh? Hashtag logic. You have played the game. I don't know how
Oh, I
far.
I got into Act Two. However, I have spent a lot of time doing side quests, which is another point I'll
Okay.
have to bring up later.
Where I get my knowledge from the game from is actually not edited videos. I saw one edited video,
Mhm.
a criticism video in part, but mostly I've seen live streams. So no one can tell me, oh, you just saw someone trying to break the game. It was all fucking live streams. I saw the Spiffing Brit ones. I saw the clips from Harmful Opinions, which are fucking hilarious.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Who else? I saw a bit of Razorfist playing the game, and then there was someone else as well, and of course the few clips that you shared with me, with your
Yeah,
with the encounter with the Dark Souls boss, and fucking amazing. So I guess I'll throw over the conversation. I'll throw out my impressions, and you can work as the good cop in this pairing.
are you sure I'm gonna be the good cop? No.
Not entirely, but the less cruel cop, I guess.
We'll
And And yeah, when it comes to gameplay issues, of course, I will refer to you because of all the things I can say about the game, I can't say how the gunplay, for instance, feels as a player. I just saw people putting about
Yeah.
5,000 bullets into a single human opponent.
Yes, you saw correctly. well, well, unless you channel your inner spiff, and that's also something I'll bring up.
It's fucking amazing. But let's start with the low-hanging fruit, shall we? The
Sure.
glitches and the bugs.
Oh,
Just to get warmed up and before we get to the more serious stuff, let's have some fun with the fixable issues.
oh boy. Well, where do we start? From what I gathered online, uh, the people who have preloaded the game on PS4, for instance,
Mhm.
have had issues where their consoles had to be completely restarted, as in restored fully because well, something happened during installation. Uh, one guy I can definitely remember is Life of Boris on his Gopnik Gaming channel,
Mhm.
where both his PlayStation and I believe he had some issue on Windows as well. So yeah, both caused a system crash of some sort, to which I can actually relate because the 103 patch had me crashing my system at a specific point of the main quest, which prevented me from actually completing the main quest
Great.
for quite a while until I got 104. The issue, and I believe I've sent this to you, but we can later add this in editing if I haven't, caused both my screens to turn completely purple and blue with artifacting. Everything behind that kind of worked. I actually shut down the system normally,
Yeah,
but I could not see anything at all.
you actually
So
you actually sent me that picture, and the fun part a bit about that one is when you first sent it to me, and I just glaze over the screens you sent me. I actually thought that was in game. That was an in-game screenshot. I thought the USV were looking at some broken display in the world, and only a few seconds later I realized, wait a second, that's not in-game rendering, that's reality.
no, no. Well, I can give the game this. When you're in a cutscene,
Hmm.
really the game looks phenomenal. Like the lighting is perfectly placed. I think this was something harmful said,
Yeah.
but yeah, the lighting, the cinematography, excellent. Really, actually, when you're in a cinematic, it don't almost feels like you're watching a movie. Like not even a Kojima movie. Like
I want to put a pin in that statement. We'll come back to that later.
yeah, we will definitely. But in terms of how it looks, really, when everything loads correctly, it's great.
Yeah, I had this guy in another Discord of mine who really. Okay, I should mention that two guys in my Discord who in that other Discord that talk a lot about Cyberpunk right now. One is constantly cursing at the game, the other one is constantly trying to defend it. And as if I live in as if I didn't live in a cliche enough world already, the guy who curses plays it on PlayStation, and the guy who defends it plays it on PC. And that's another consensus I got that they really, and I mean major league, fucked the console release, which makes me heartbroken. Really, I mean you can hear that
Of
from my
course,
voice. Um, while they kind of sort of managed to make the PC somewhat stable. And I say somewhat because despite the statement of the PC player guy that with him everything works fine, I see way too many streams, screenshots, and clips out
yep,
there from PC gamers where the game
yep,
just shits its pants.
yep. You see, the thing with that is that I'm absolutely convinced that the people saying, "Hey, I didn't see any bugs," are simply not attentive enough to the details. Because really, it's something you can easily miss something. As in, until recently, until I started working as a game tester.
Hmm.
That's something people should know. That's my day job. By night, I criticize Cyberpunk. Um, since I started working, I started noticing a lot more issues in games that I've played for years that I've never really paid attention to because now I'm tuned to. I'm constantly in this low key find what's wrong mode where I start noticing, okay, that texture popped for 1 second up in the top left corner of the screen, like 3 kilometers down the road.
Yeah.
That's something I start noticing. However, in Cyberpunk, that's a lot more noticeable because NPCs won't load. I can pinpoint the exact distance where cars will start turning into basic geometry to save your resources and such. So yeah, some people don't really notice that, and especially if you're playing on low enough settings on a lower end PC, you'll definitely notice that less because the lower end LODs that the lower LODs that you get loaded in for distant objects are closer and closer to your actual game the lower your settings are.
Yeah. And
So really depends.
uh,
Also, of course, the person's tolerance for such things, etc. It's all part of the problem that could arise from.
yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to what you said. Simply because I see that in myself. I mean, I notice plenty of errors in many of the games I play, but since I don't have that professional connection to games, I just register it and then file it away, like the very common texture glitches
Yeah,
when a character picks up an item in 3D games, and for a second you see these triangles shining through the hand.
yeah,
This kind of stuff. I notice it, but you file it under whatever. Of course, if you do that professionally, you can't say, "Oh well, whatever." You have to report it so that the coders can ignore your warning. It's
it works already.
no. Mm. my pays, my personal favorite. Well, okay, my second personal favorite. My favorite one is still the magical wheelchair.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
And I actually love that Harmful Opinions got an even better version of that because in the original one, the guy actually walked up to the supposed quadriplegic man and punched him.
Yep.
So the guy went away. Harmful Opinions actually just performed the pistol whip into thin air, which apparently sends all the NPC in a 5 mile radius on high alert.
Punch him. Hang on. Do you mean like a full-on unarmed attack, or do you mean like pistol out quick attack? Oh. Uh. Oh. What?
Oh, I
And
say,
I can actually explain how that probably works in code just from looking at it.
yeah.
And that's you did an aggressive action, and that just makes the NPCs go, "Oh no, this is dangerous. He's performing an illegal activity. I should run."
Hmm. Which what makes even that funny is that I said panic, but the NPCs in Cyberpunk don't really panic. They get
Yep.
mildly upset or annoyed. They don't run away. They just go, fucking terrorist shooting people again, and then just stomp off. Sometimes while continuously pissing themselves. it's really
Yep.
the number of glitches, bugs, and just weird design choices are all over the place. It's I mean, I guess we could make a 2-hour video just about that.
Yep. Like for the most glaringly bugged feature for me is the police system.
Hmm.
It's absolutely terrible. The thing is, you I've had a point in time where I actually killed a hobo in an empty room with no witnesses, and I suddenly got a wanted star. What happened next was that a robot spawned in the room next to me, and then the police started spawning in outside the building because I killed someone with no witnesses. And the thing about the wanted system as well is that you get wanted stars very quickly. You just kill another cop and you get a wanted star. Kill another cop, you get 3 wanted stars. At this point, it's either at 3 or 4 that you get the super ninjas type of SWAT police.
Ah.
And because the super ninja SWAT police, like all other officers, has teleporting technology, that means you are especially boned because they'll show up and one shot you immediately if you get to that point.
I'm actually curious
So,
about I'm actually curious about one detail I haven't seen yet. From what I can tell from the footage where I saw the magical teleporting police,
yep.
as a side note, as I made the joke recently, why do the police in this game need cars? Apparently, they they have Scotty on their payroll, but they get teleported behind you, so you can't see them just
Yeah.
being teleported. I wonder if you constantly just look into one direction after you committed a crime, will the police never spawn, or will they still be teleported behind you no matter whether you look at them or not?
They'll just spawn outside your vision. There are spawn points for the police, specific spawn points
Mm-hmm.
on the map, and you'll never be able to see all of them. So they'll spawn around the corner. Uh, they'll spawn behind you. It just the AI will pick an appropriate spawn point. There are enough. There are enough.
Okay.
But you can block a specific spawn point by looking at it, and unblock it by not looking at it, which will let the cops spawn literally touching your back if you're close enough.
It sounds like
If you want to game the system.
that sounds like a fucking horror movie. What were they called? In Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels, right?
Oh
Those
yeah.
Weeping Angel police.
Yeah, essentially. And I discovered this by complete accident, by the way. I didn't try to break the game. I didn't try anything at all. The first time I encountered this, I sent that recording. I actually sent the second time because, well, I wasn't recording all the time.
Hmm.
I just was near my apartment. There were 3 guys sitting on some boxes. I was like, okay, let's see what will happen if I murder people. So I saved the game. I bring out my gun, I kill them, and I get the wanted star. And I'm like, okay, let's see how when the police will show up. So I'm looking around, and suddenly there's a police officer next to me, and I'm like, hold up, I didn't see him. Must have just ran up the corner while I wasn't looking. Okay, I kill him. I look at the elevator and I see a police bot, and I kill the police bot. And then suddenly there are 3 police officers right at the same spot that I killed the other one, just bundled together at some vending machines. And that's how I figured out, oh, that's a spawn point. Also, another funny thing, because one of the last things I did before we started, as they played the game before the stream,
Hmm.
I mean this video, was that I finished Act 1. I got one of my revolvers unlocked by boosting up one of my stats.
Hmm.
So I wanted to check out how it will perform. I killed a few innocent civilians. The vending machine spawn point worked, as usual. But the funny thing is that 2 police officers spawned inside my apartment while I was outside it with the open door. So yeah,
Archie,
not even your home is safe.
Archie, clearly you're ignorant. This was clearly meant to be a Fifth Element reference. Ah.
Yeah, they're just coming out from under my bed.
Another glitch I want to mention simply because it's my second most favorite, and that one is actually one you sent me.
Mhm.
where you were supposed to have a holo call, and this goes again into the what you mentioned before, that the visuals of the game seem to be amazing. When you get called via quote unquote the phone, you don't actually get a still image as it used to be in many games that had that kind of in-world communications device. You actually get an animated picture of or the animated model of the character that calls you. And in your case, you had a conversation with Jackie, the Spanish sentence dispenser.
Yep.
And if I understood you right, he was supposed to be in some kind of spa or massage salon or something like that. So he was.
Yes, at Misty's something, whatever, her spiritual salon,
Uh,
where he was supposed to be just relaxing.
mhm. And so he was. The game rendered him as this, leaning back guy, and then he just appeared in front of you, like physically. The
Yep,
guy, the guy,
in that exact same position.
yeah, he just floated, leaning back in the middle of the room where you were standing while you were having a conversation. And this is fucking cursed because I recently watched the stream of Mandalore where he played Mystery of the Druids, and there was a scene very similar to that where the protagonist talks to Professor whatever, to some NPC, and they talk about the secondary protagonist, the woman,
Mhm.
and how she called him and is about on her way to meet the both of them. But the woman is there. She's on the screen and she stands in the professor. It creates such a surreal. And when you, as a major AAA game, have to be compared to Mystery of the Druids, that's not a good thing.
That's not a good thing. Yeah, Jackie was channeling his inner. What was the blue suited guy's name? The one that Halligan talks to first, needs his scissors.
Ah, the Lowry, yeah.
Yeah, Lowry.
Lowry, the floating Scotland Yard investigator.
Yeah, Jackie was channeling his inner Lowry, and that's it. But
Fucking amazing.
yeah, that was the most unexpected bug, I believe, that I have ever encountered
I, c-
in Cyberpunk.
I can imagine. Suddenly Jackie.
Yep. I mean, there are a lot more issues that I've encountered, like the PS1 sports game crowd model uh, type of stuff that happens to characters when they refuse to load for I don't know how long. I can just follow them along the street and see their triangles slowly load into actual models.
Mm.
Then there's what was it? Oh yeah, the physics. The physics in this game are
Yeah.
how should I how should I put it? Uh, I've had times where I would just walk around, I don't know, a rooftop or something, and I wanted to get to some item that was under some boxes. Uh, it was clearly marked that there was a lootable item under them, but yeah, nothing you do to the boxes actually changes them. No, you cannot punch them, you cannot jump onto them to shift them, nothing. So yeah, I couldn't get to the items, so I somehow shimmied my way out of that box hellhole. And I'm moving around the roof looking for other items, and suddenly I hear this. I don't know how to describe the noise, but something happened, and I look over to the boxes, and suddenly the game decided, oh, someone tried to move these boxes multiple times, and all of them, because over a minute. So let's just load all that interaction immediately now. And suddenly all the boxes were scattered everywhere.
Oh,
I still couldn't get one of the two items though because it was too random. But
thanks. Thanks, I hate myself now. Because now I want to make a JoJo reference. The world!
yeah, yeah, essentially what happened.
Yeah.
Then there was this one time where I dropped maybe a foot down. Yeah, something like that. Not even half a meter. From some I don't know what was it, a low wall or something. And I took 80% health damage from full damage.
Oh my god, it's the Witcher 3 bug again. I don't know if you recall that. That's actually this goes slightly into another point I wanted to mention way later, but that's an excuse that many people have made in defense of Cyberpunk by at this point. You know that, oh, but The Witcher 3 was bugged as well.
Um, that
Twofold, not as much. As far as I recall, it wasn't that fucked up. And second, even if it was, let's assume that it was, what about that is a positive?
yep.
It's like,
It
yeah, it's the same company, it's one game after, and they made it even worse.
yep. I mean, just because a good game was bugged at the start doesn't mean the fact that it was bugged was good. Also,
That's didn't right. Fuck, Mauler said that back when he did his Resident Evil 7 review. What was it? He mentioned some bullshit streamer or YouTube content creator who made a statement like, no game is perfect, or no game is without flaws. Therefore, the perfect game would have flaws, and since Resident Evil 7 has flaws, it's the perfect game.
In fact, there was one of them, I forget what the name was, but he refers to the game as perfect, and during his video he says that no game can be perfect, that all games have flaws, therefore the perfect game would have flaws, this game has flaws, and therefore this game is the perfect game. It is the most bizarre mental gymnastics I have seen in a long time.
okay. I mean, if that worked for them,
If that works, right? And I guess this is where we slowly shift into the more, I can't say serious, but okay, little rant before we go into that section. See, the thing is, as much fun as everyone has with the glitches and the bugs, I think we find ourselves, as far as the public perception of Cyberpunk goes, in a somewhat of a Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda situation, where
oh,
everyone yaps about one issue the game has. You know, in Mass Effect 3 it was the ending, in Andromeda it was the hilarious character models and bugs and glitches, and that sounds familiar.
it does. Sadly, yes.
Yeah, but the problem is that with both these games, the general perception seems to be those are really good games if it wasn't for that one issue, in that one case bugs, in the other the ending. When the reality is that both of these games as a whole weren't all that good.
Yeah.
And this is the
Yep.
point. And this is the point where maybe, I don't know, we haven't talked about this specifically. Your opinion and mine might differ. I mentioned before that my opinion or my impression of Cyberpunk has dropped since my first impressions.
Mhm.
But honestly, at this point, it has dropped so far that I would call Cyberpunk actually a bad game. Not a bad game on the levels of, I don't know, name any historically, not an ET
Cut
Atari
down the
game bad.
Freeman. Cut
Yeah,
down the Freeman.
yeah, exactly. It's not bad in the sense of hunt down the Freeman. I mean, there are different stages of bad, but I still go by that standard. You know, a game is good if it achieves what it sets out to do. And in that regard, I honestly think that Cyberpunk is an outright bad game for numerous reasons. I've made a list. Uh, of cornerstones. I didn't write a fucking essay. But yeah, in anything I expected from Cyberpunk, which was sold as this really immersive, really detailed, choice-based, the player writes the story role-playing game,
Yes. Okay.
it fails at everything.
Yes.
It might even fail at the whole. I mean, many people said, well, at least it's immersive. But even when it comes to the cyberpunk setting, I feel it does so many things wrong or half-assed. So yeah, I don't know if you agree with me. If you say, well, it's not as good as I expected, but I still think it's a good game. Personally, from what I've seen and witnessed so far, even if they 20 patches in, halfway into 2021, they fixed all the glitches, I still think it would be a bad game.
Yeah. I don't know what score I'd give it in the end, if we have to like do the 0 to 10 rating. But as an RPG, it completely fails. absolutely fails. This game is a shooter with RPG elements in the terms of perks. So this is as much. I've said as much on a different Discord. Uh, this game is as much an RPG as Far Cry 5, for example, because that
Okay.
game also has a main storyline that you're forced into with no choice. It also has perks that aren't just gun specific. You can unlock different abilities, different modes of traversal, optimize your crafting. There's also crafting in Far Cry 5. This is essentially Far Cry 5, but
Correct.
buggier, which
That is brutal.
yeah,
Uh,
no, seriously, as an RPG, it feels every possible aspect, honestly. I haven't encountered a single choice in this game completing the entire first act, and completing something like 20 plus side missions.
yeah.
Something which I want to get to. I don't know what part of the video should be dedicated to that, but the side missions.
Oh, I haven't.
Oh,
I haven't. Just as information. I haven't made a schedule in that sense. I have this list. Let me give you the point. I wrote a few things down here, and they don't have to be in that order. I just want to check them off during the course of this recording. We had glitches, bugs. We had the release. I have linearity as a point. Role
oh yeah,
playing.
yeah.
Choices matter. The combat. Celebrity worship.
Oh,
The whole topic of cyberpunk, and lastly, I've written down excuses for the game as a point.
oh yeah. Well, we can actually shift back to release because many people tend to gloss over the fact that there were some very criminal practices employed for the release, such as letting the review copies of the game go like what several days or maybe a week before release for the PC only, and then not even allowing any console copies to be given out for review
Hmm.
because, well, as we've seen later, there was nothing to review.
What would they
A-
mean by that?
yeah, and the fact that no gameplay footage was allowed in reviews. That's downright criminal and unprecedented for any type of game.
Yeah, it's what there were other things that I found concerning. First off, they had this whole streaming embargo, which I've seen some people that usually are more critical towards companies made a somewhat reasonable argument, like, okay, of course they didn't want the game to be streamed before it was out there, which personally I consider flimsy. But okay,
Very.
let's buy into that. What worries me is that they outright in that public statement said, if you do, we'll take you down. Like we hired this company and they will come after you. They almost phrased it precisely like that. And
Uh,
I'm not all that at least usually companies, even companies like Electronic Arts, at least hire a PR guy who phrases shit like that more amicable.
I mean, EA doesn't have the best track record. If you can remember, I don't know if you followed what EA's PR director said during the Battlefield 1 announcement, I believe, was it, or
Oh no,
5?
no,
I
no.
don't know.
I'm well aware. That's exactly why I brought up EA. It's even EA, at least sometimes, tries to look like the good guys.
Yeah,
I mean, not very well, but they try.
yeah, exactly. The Yeah, well, I mean, it's the irony is palpable because the whole cyberpunk theme is corporation bad, malpractice is bad, corporation immoral and bad, and yeah,
Yeah, but that is again that I have to say in all fairness, that's nothing new. I mean, how many companies preach, especially nowadays, preach diversity, and all look like a fucking Seventh Heaven family cast. All the diversity of a bukkake shooting. Um, Jeez, what did I have in my head right now? Apart from the bukkake shooting, of course.
Many releases.
Oh right. Then there was also the thing that Razorfist mentioned, and for completion's sake, let's say I haven't seen any reliable sources. I haven't hired YouTube scientists to check that. It's just Razorfist's claim that he also got sent one of those, YouTube influencer contracts, which I know it's part of the business and it's perfectly normal, but it rubs me the wrong way in general. If a company signs contracts with influencers to give the first impression of the game, gee, I wonder if those are going to be unbiased.
Yeah. I
But
mean, we're back to the slowly turning them into game journalists.
yeah, and Razor Fist claims, again, I'm being fair here, he just claims he got that offer, he rejected it because the contract said something along the lines of that you should avoid showing glitches, that you should avoid negative commentary on the game. And at this point, again, why? What the? You just At this point, I just have to say CDPR just didn't want to pay full professional PR teams. It's bought advertisement, for fuck's sake. If you buy
Yeah.
people with a huge following and you know full well that many people are going to make their purchase decisions, especially in the early days of the game's release, based on what certain influencers will say, and then you tell these influencers, hey, only talk about the positives, then you're they're just buying advertisement, for fuck's sake.
Yep, that's exactly it. And that seems very plausible since I've seen a couple of reviews. I cannot tell you where because I haven't really paid attention to who was who. I was just looking for Cyberpunk videos just before release.
Mhm.
Uh, Everybody was quoting the same lines like, "Ah, there are some glitches here and there, but the game is great, and I love the world, and yeah, I love the world, and yes, and there's glitches, and yes, I love
Yeah.
the world." Yeah, everyone was saying those two things essentially. And yeah, the story is great, which
Yeah, no.
I cannot fully. Maybe you actually know more of the story than me because I've only played the first act and I haven't moved past it, and I haven't watched videos or streams that have been story focused past the first act.
Eh, Concerning the story, I probably don't know more than you. The reason for which is because even the premise of the story already sent me into spastic fits. Uh,
Playing it, just trust me, me playing this. Can you imagine me having to, this is an immersive kind of experience where you're always in first person, etc., etc. You're made to feel like you're the one talking. And can you imagine me just being here and being this stupid all the time? I
yeah,
cannot select anything that I would have said in such a situation because there is no option for that. There's
yeah,
just yeah, I want to go along with this absolutely stupid plan that you have put in front of me. I see nothing suspicious at all about this. Hell yeah, let's go.
let's do this, man. You got a great ass job for us. Okay, it was just a reference to a harmful opinion clip there.
Just so happens, I think I might have bagged us a sweet ass job.
Yo, an ass job. My favorite.
But yeah, I guess this is where for the since I don't give a flying fuck about spoilers,
Yep.
from what I can piece together, it's again something I totally associate with Cyberpunk. The plot is about a chip for immortality. Apparently, there's this chip that supposedly, I guess, saves your soul or your conscience or whatever, and
Hmm.
if therefore it effectively makes you immortal. And I guess that's where Keanu Reeves' character is saved upon,
Yep.
because you have these interchanging chapters. You play sometimes as the protagonist V, and you sometimes play as Johnny Silverhand, who is called like that, I guess, because he has a silver hand.
Yep.
played by Keanu Reeves, because that's important in a
That's
video game.
breathtaking.
Yeah, breathtaking. Fuck you. And that's important that we have a fucking cast of actors in our fucking video games.
Yeah, naturally.
And yeah, he gets V dies. Keanu Reeves died some time ago.
Yes.
So Keanu Reeves somehow got onto this fucking chip, and the chip somehow ends up in V. And the
Yeah.
story revolves around the chip inevitably overwriting the personality of, in this case, V, what little personality there is, and therefore effectively killing the person in question. So V.
Yeah,
And that's that you since you are V, you don't want that. Surprise.
naturally.
But I guess because Keanu Reeves is the main protagonist, whatever, you are somehow getting to know each other. You know, you and the genie in your head, Master Chief and Cortana. And I don't know this, but it seems as transparent as fucking glass. I guess at the end of the game, you're gonna make a choice whether you sacrifice yourself, or Keanu Reeves sacrifices himself, or I guess there will be some third ending where you both somehow live together and can now brag that every chick you fuck was in a threesome or something like that. It's and even during this entire synopsis, I'm just wondering, am I still in the fucking Cyberpunk game? Because that's not what I associate with Cyberpunk at all. Even the
Mm.
Cyberpunk story, let's be more confined, let's say Cyberpunk storylines. I mean, I know that many people who looked forward to Cyberpunk don't get Cyberpunk, especially the tranny community. I mean, LGBT community. I swear to God, I've seen so many people going, I'm transgender, therefore I get Cyberpunk. And like,
How?
yeah, because, this is actually the hilarious thing. They say, because they leave behind their original sex, they change into what they want to be, they are closer to the ideal of Cyberpunk. And I'm like, assholes, you do understand that that whole transgender thing in the context of Cyberpunk is a bad thing. The whole idea here is that in an attempt to leave behind those shackles and restrictions of humanity, of being human, we actually abandoned what turned us into human beings and turned basically every member of our society into an interchangeable commodity.
Yeah.
This is why that's what baffles me. So there was early pre-release artwork for Cyberpunk where you saw that chick in front of a mirror,
Mhm.
but she had no jaw. Her jaw was put on a pedestal nearby because her face was interchangeable. Everything about the human body is modular.
Yep.
So instead of overcoming, prejudice based on outside beauty, it became even more important because now if you're ugly, if you're fat, if you're not perfect, that
You're poor.
that means you're poor. That was the whole point. If you're an ugly person in a cyberpunk setting, that means you are running around with a giant sign that says "I have no money." Which most likely means that you're a drug addict. Basically, everyone is a drug addict. I mean, for fuck's sake, why do people think that the new Deus Ex games, the Human Revolution, Mankind Divided, had this fucking Icarus metaphor plastered around every fucking second of the game with all the subtlety of a
Yeah.
dancing elephant? That's right. That's the metaphor right there. We flew too close to the sun and we crashed down to our death.
Yep. And why the prequel games are actually much better looking, much less bleak than the original.
Yeah,
That's also something that a lot of people seem to miss. And
exactly.
it's not because of engine limitations or something like that.
Oh, and another thing was, Cyberpunk was progressive because the story is always the little man fighting and overcoming the evil corporation. Like, dumbass, there is no fight. The little man lost. That's another thing with Cyberpunk. You can't win. the corporations will never lose. You can maybe win against a corpo, but he gets replaced within 24 hours. The corporation is still there, and now they're after your ass with all the resources you could never dream of. Essentially, winning against a corporation in Cyberpunk means number one, you're on the run until you die, which means you will get killed by the corporation, or by becoming part of the corporation. Big institutions won in Cyberpunk. There is no struggle. It's like telling you, oh, World War Z is about the struggle against the zombies. No, the World War Z was about what happens after the zombie apocalypse. It's
Yep,
over. Uh,
it's done. You were just watching the dying breaths.
yeah, it's almost as if there's a reason why we call it this dystopia, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Oh god, where did I start with this entire rant? I
trannies understand cyberpunk.
right. I went so off the rails with that one, but I guess it's been stewing a while because every time I see someone babble about how great it is that in Cyberpunk we left all the gender restrictions behind, you fucking idiot. The last the last thing transsexuals want is a Cyberpunk future. Oh, fuck it.
Because they won't be special anymore. But yeah,
Hmm. But I guess this is where we can bleed over into the whole role playing elements, because I've seen so many people go on about how great the role playing is because you decide your character. You can determine your character's sex, how they look, their skin texture, their tattoos, whether they have a dick or not, the size of the dick, whether it's circumcised or not. Yeah, penis one, penis two.
yeah, the sequel.
And that means that Cyberpunk is the greatest RPG of all times. Am I the only one who sits there and goes no? Because uh, okay, before I go into why it shit, I want to bring up another point that was often mentioned. So many of the influencers I've seen talking about this game said that while Witcher 3 was a good role-playing game, and let's just let that statement stand. I'm not judging it either way because I honestly haven't played Witcher 3 enough to make a judgment about that. But while Witcher 3 was a good role playing game, unfortunately we were limited in our role playing possibilities because we played the predefined character of Geralt of Rivia, and therefore there are things that we wouldn't do because, Geralt wouldn't do them. But thankfully, V is a blank slate, and therefore we can do whatever we want and create our very own character.
Yeah,
Bullshit. I'm
it's absolute bullshit. That this is the exact same problem as Witcher in
eh,
that respect.
I actually would say it's actually worse than in in the Witcher games, because while Geralt is a predefined character, there are some things he would never do.
But
He has a wide enough spectrum of moralities where you can say, okay, do I play merciless Geralt or do I play, I mean, especially the first game, often forgotten because stellar gameplay. Witcher 1 has actually the most philosophical underpinnings of the entire Witcher series. The whole thing with Geralt is that he was brought up a Witcher, and as a Witcher, he was sworn to protect humanity. He was never meant to fight humans. In fact, before they fell into ruin due to societal changes and the advancement of technology in the medieval setting, it was considered to be an absolute unimaginable affront to witches to actually raise their blades against humans. That's where the whole neutrality part comes in. And it was then in Witcher 1 where he struggled with that teaching because he was a dying member of an old generation. And suddenly he had to fight humans because humans became more like monsters, and some monsters became increasingly human in their attitudes, if nothing else.
humans are the real monsters is the oftentimes quoted takeaway from Witcher.
Yeah, exactly. And while that again restricts you to who Geralt is, it gives you enough leeway to decide which version of Geralt you're playing in your personal playthrough, so to speak. I mean, for fuck's sake, the ending of Witcher 2 literally lets you decide: do you kill the guy you've been chasing for the entirety of the game, or do you let him go? From what I've seen in Cyberpunk, you get not even a fraction of this kind of freedom of choice. You get to decide what kind of fingernail paint your character has, which has no impact whatsoever on the world. Again, I'm just stating what I've seen. If any of what I've said is wrong, correct me there. But
Well,
basically, you basically have no choices. The few choices you have are irrelevant, and even the character creation is pointless in that particular sense, because no one reacts differently to how you look. You can create a corpo character who looks like a fucking crack addict, and no one says, V, you're a good member of our corporation, but you look fucking stupid. How about you go fix that? There's no impact on how you make your character look. So it really is completely meaningless. It's just, create your favorite Tumblr nightmare.
really is that. And oh boy, as far as choices go, oh man, oh man.
You
Well,
you want to? I mean, I can tell of some examples I've seen, but
yeah, sure, sure. Go ahead,
maybe
go ahead.
maybe you can. Well, the two most glaring ones I've seen were actually number one, the scene that actually was shown in the 2018 vertical slice trailer they showed and hyped everyone up with, where you find the daughter of some rich or influential person being in some organ harvester's building,
Yeah,
and you're given this prompt, the timed prompt. Think Telltale Games timed response thingy, where you can ask Jackie to give you a hypo spray. And if you do, Jackie throws you a hypo spray. You jam it into the chest of the girl, all Pulp Fiction style, and she is resuscitated. Now, if you decide to let the timer run out and don't ask Jackie for the hypo spray, Jackie will toss you the hypo spray. You will jam the hypo spray into the girl's chest, Pulp Fiction style, and she will be resuscitated. Your choices matter. And then there
yeah,
was,
that's
and then there's,
that's.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I also tried it. It's definitely a thing.
Uh,
Uh, there is because it's also very strange because later on there is also a scene where you need to inject a hypo and this time into yourself, and if you don't, you actually fail, and this one you need to press, but the other one you didn't need to press.
Actually, I know the scene you're talking about. I saw that with Harmful Opinions, and that is the second example I wanted to bring up because that one is just baffling for a game that is praised beyond the heavens for, its role-playing features. For those not aware, the setting is that V just got reanimated. I mentioned before that she dies, and then comes back to life. And it gets dragged into a car by some Japanese guy. And then you have what essentially is a fucking rail shooter turret sequence, which starts
Yep.
with what you just described. The Japanese guy, while driving, hands you a hypo spray, and then you can say, yes, I use the hypo spray, or no, I don't use the hypo spray. If you don't use it, you die and you have to reload, so you can't go on with the game. If you do, oh yeah, wait a second, no, I have to correct myself. You don't actually die because of that. If you don't use the hypo spray, the Japanese guy gets shot by one of your pursuers who ride on motorcycles. If you do use the hyper spray, that guy never appears. Which immediately is, what the fuck, How does you saving your own life keep a guy who wants you dead from shooting the driver? And it's so unnecessary because you could have just made another cutscene or interactive gameplay, cinematic gameplay sequence where once you inject yourself with a hyper spray, you're back to life, and then you use a gun to shoot the guy who would have shot the driver. Instead, something completely different happens. But
Yeah,
the fun part,
sorry.
the fun part is what follows after that. You have an entire sequence where you can shoot at the motorcycle pursuers, but it doesn't matter. You can literally sit back, not even touch the controls, and you will successfully go through the entire sequence because your input isn't needed at all.
Oh, oh yeah, about that. That's surprisingly untrue.
Huh?
I've checked. I've actually played this today, and I've checked. You need to deal a certain amount of damage first before you can sit back.
Okay.
Uh, but you don't need to keep shooting. You don't have to. You just need to, I think, damage the bike enough, and then you can sit back for like, I don't know, 10 seconds, and then the cutscene plays out. I
I
believe that's
see.
what Harmful did because I tried not shooting at all, and there was a failure sequence.
Ah, okay. Well, I have to take that back. My impression came from two sources actually. On the one hand, harmful opinions,
Mhm.
who did shoot, because that's the natural response you have. Who did shoot at the
Yeah,
bicycle drivers, but since they didn't die at all, he just stopped and then realized he never dies again
yeah.
during the
He did the exact minimum, and then just sat back and yeah,
and the second one was the Spiffing Brit, which is another live stream I watched, actually on release day. And he actually kept shooting the first motorcycle driver.
yeah.
He injected him with lead until there was nothing left. This is another reason why I said that you don't have your input is not important at all, because he kept shooting at the guy, but he didn't die. His motorcycle set on fire because if you shoot a motorbike rider, the bike starts burning.
Yes.
I guess that's a cyberpunk thing as well. But nothing happened. And in fact, I think if I remember correctly, the Spiffing Brit actually almost died because of that. Because while your bullets seem to do little to nothing, uh, the bullets of the pursuers seem to do damage. I don't know if they can actually kill you, but they certainly cause that fucking red distortion glitch thing. The cyberpunk version of the red jam in front of your eyes.
Yes, they do that. I can confirm that, and yeah, I mean, shooting them never kills them. Not the bikers, not the guy on the hood of your car.
Okay.
And also, another thing that I haven't seen anyone discover yet, uh, while you're in the vehicle,
Hmm.
you the pistol Takamura gives you replaces your first weapon slot. I say this very deliberately because despite you having been shot in the head and left in the junkyard, uh, your weapons remain from the plaza that you
Oh,
picked up.
oh god.
So I've actually accidentally actually switched over to my shotgun that I picked up during the mission, and I realized, oh god, I have a shotgun. And then I realized I actually have all the weapons I have equipped currently available to me just by pressing Alt to switch between the weapons. So I actually played that sequence with my shotgun instead of my pistol.
I don't know if that is that more or less believable than the guy who gets thrown into prison with all his weapons on him. Oh god. Okay, so there immediately got egg on my face. So clearly I was wrong. I need to correct the statement here. You're not your input isn't completely useless. It just becomes useless once you've filled an arbitrary number or an arbitrary
Yeah,
damage meter. Okay.
you need to fill the quota before you're allowed to play the next section.
Jesus Christ.
More of the corpo immersive experience.
Yeah, that's actually I don't know if you had a chance to start several playthroughs. Um, but okay.
I've seen the clips, so I'm well aware that your starting point is rendered null in like what, an hour or less.
Yeah, it's no, no. I mean, it's clear to me they try to do somewhat of a Dragon Age Origins thingy here. You know, they gave you 3 different origin stories. Do they matter at all?
I cannot comment because I haven't looked into it much, but I
Okay.
can look it up right now just because I'm curious. But as far as I've seen of the starting point in Act 1, no matter what happens, you somehow meet Jackie, you somehow end up homeless, and you somehow end up buying the same apartment.
Yeah.
So it's not like having a corpo will lead to a rich lifestyle. No, no matter what you pick, you'll end up in the same seedy condo that you start with as a street kid, for example,
And
which is what I did.
I want to preemptively say this because I can already hear people, real or hypothetical people, arguing, well, but in Dragon Age Origins, that's the same. You have your origin story, and then you always end up at the wall with fighting against the Darkspawn. To that I say bull fucking shit, because where you start has huge ramifications of how you treat it. Your race is important. It becomes relevant in a later chapter because you always return to whatever people you belong to. If you're a Dalish elf, you will come across a Dalish tribe, and they will react differently to a Dalish elf than to a slave elf or a human, especially a human. And the same goes for human societies, or if you're a dwarf, if you're a noble dwarf or one of low birth, it will play major roles. I don't know if I guess there will be some minor dialogue varieties, but given how little impact choices really seems to have on the game mechanics of the game, I find it hard to believe that that your origin story makes much of a difference. And as you said, you always end up with Jackie. There is no scenario where you can say, you know what, I kind of think Jackie is a pretentious twat. And
Yeah,
incident, uh,
there is no, and I the only one no, like not once. There was like 2 or 3 times that I've seen a street kid option for me because I picked a street kid. Uh, a couple, 2 of them were pointless dialogue options that were like uh maybe slightly different compared to a normal option, you could say. Like I don't know, Dexter Deshawn, when the guy who gives you the job for the plaza, he you could use your background as a free kid to, oh, I know who Dexter Deshawn is. And the other one that kinda mattered, kinda, was when I could convince a guy to tell me where some police officer was in what motel. My street kid knowledge told me that this area was controlled by some gang, and I could tell that gang that this guy was harboring a police officer, and that got him scared enough to tell me where the police officer was.
okay.
But otherwise, I think I would have had to pay him something like €50, according to a stream I watched. I don't know if you could actually intimidate him otherwise to
But
give you the info.
But so far, there's nothing, on the level of, let's say, New Vegas, where your practical skills, like they had it in New Vegas, if you were a tech-savvy guy, you could actually use it in dialogue option to call out someone's lies, or you go completely different conversational routes that simply wouldn't have been available to you otherwise.
Yeah, I have encountered the skill check dialogue options, but they've all been flavor text. I
Okay.
could pick up on the fact that I don't know uh, this job giver Evelyn Parker is acting odd or on some things, or that her lifestyle isn't is very at odds with itself, etc., etc. But that literally led nowhere. Also, my tech savviness allowed me to you know, essentially compliment this one hot chick in the basement who was some kind of hacker. Uh, but yeah, nothing else.
Okay. But little elaboration in just in case anyone isn't familiar with that. This what you mean with flavor text or fluff text,
Oh,
whatever you want to call it. It's actually a staple of CDPR games, I guess, since The Witcher 2 they had this, where you have basically a conversation is structured in the way that it progresses bit by bit, and for every bit of progress stage of the conversation, there is one or two options that continue the conversation, and then there are two or three or some more options that don't progress the conversation but let the character elaborate on a certain point that was mentioned in that particular stage of the conversation. I actually saw that again in Harmful Opinion, where he started as a corpo, and he had two dialogue options. I don't know what the context of the conversation was, but he was given the option, "What if I refuse?" which was the yellow option, the progress. So let's call him progression option. And then there was "That sounds kind of dangerous," which was colored blue, which is the color for. I think it's blue, which is the color
yeah.
for the fluff piece conversations, where you get some more dialogue, but it doesn't really do anything. And that scene is actually fucking hilarious because Harmful wanted to go along with whatever plan the corporate guy provided. But he couldn't. He could just say, "This
Yep.
sounds like a bit of danger," and then the guy gave some excuses. And then he said, "Okay, what if I refuse?" And the corpo guy actually responded, "Don't ask stupid questions." Upon which Harmful just said, "You didn't allow me to not do that."
My only choices are and if I refuse or this is a huge gamble. Why can't I go along with it? I feel railroaded already, dude. Wait, I don't even have a choice there? I have to say and if I refuse?
What'll happen if I refuse?
Don't ask stupid questions.
I wasn't allowed to not!
Yeah, that's sadly the case. I've had the opposite problem. I really wanted to refuse a job, which sadly is the main quest.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to wiggle my way out of it, and well, there was literally no option that was in any way negative. Like, I really don't know.
Yeah.
Also, there was, oh yeah, there was this especially obvious one where Dexter Deshawn asks you if you wanted to, live a quiet life, essentially. I mean, with heavy quotation marks, because, well, it was phrased like, "Would you like to kill scabs," which are the organ harvesters that you mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
or if you wanted to go out in a blaze of glory, like, "Woohoo! Yeah, I did something crazy. Now the corporation killed me,
Yeah.
and now I have a drink named after me," which is an actual requirement for having a drink named after you in Night City
I
in the
see.
Afterlife bar.
That's the whole Johnny Silverhand drink thingy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, among the options there was something like two that were essentially like, hell yeah, Blaze of Glory, and there was a third that was calling out Dexter on what you're quizzing me or testing me or something.
Mm-hmm.
There was no option that I would have picked that I was like, yeah, I'd prefer a quiet life, thank you.
Yeah, and that again, that's. I mean, again, I've grown paranoid over my years, or paranoid is probably the wrong word, but jaded, I'd say, is more fitting. I can already hear the potential counter arguments. Well, but some games focus on the story, and I think there were even some people who tried that excuse with Cyberpunk. That said, "Oh, but that they trying to tell a specific story." Or even worse example is actually Telltale games, where people try to defend the really god awful examples of Telltale games by saying, "Well, you see, it's like I never forget that comparison. It's almost on par with the Star Citizen bakery, patisserie example. I don't know if you're
What?
aware. Yeah, yeah. It's
What?
when people try to defend Star Citizen, they said it's like a piece of God, what's the English word for that?
Wait, are you telling me that for Star Citizen fans, life is a bakery?
They basically said the game is like a piece of bakery.
Mhm.
That's not the right fucking word. What's the
Pastry
pastry?
or
Right.
something.
It's like a piece of pastry. You know, be in it has to be in the oven for a certain amount of time, otherwise it will be raw and chewy, and the whole
Oh my
food
god.
is ruined. At which point, you know, the obvious response in Citizen's case is, yeah, at this point the pastry is a fucking piece of charcoal. I'm sorry. And in Telltale games, there was a similarly stupid simile. They said, "Well, it's like knitting a scarf. The scarf will always be a scarf, but you can decide what pattern is on the scarf." You know, if the
Oh,
develop if the developers of these games would put as much effort into the game design as the fans of these corporations put into stupid ass metaphors,
um,
videos like this one wouldn't exist.
yeah. Do you want to address the fact that there are a lot of people saying that this game, which has been announced? What was it that I found?
8 years.
May of, yep, 8 years ago.
Hmm.
That it was rushed.
Hmm. It was rushed. Yeah, we actually we made that jab in one of our conversations, didn't we? It's like when manga fans said Tite Kubo was rushed when he had to finish Bleach.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's roll with that. Let's uh
Problems beforehand. They're just mysteriously at the Quincy arc, he was like rushed, and yeah, bye bye.
let's not go down that arc that road.
Yeah,
Otherwise, we'll be here till next week because we'd have to go at the pacing of Bleach. Um, but yeah, the original point I wanted to make is that I'm sure people will make the argument, you know, CDPR wants to tell this story, and you know, not every game has to be free choice, blah 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 blah. But the problem with this is that it's sold as an RPG. For fuck's
yeah,
sake, much to the chagrin of Razor Fist, we mentioned it before, CDPR has constantly claimed for all their games, with maybe the exception of Thronebreaker, I'm not quite sure about that they make true RPGs. That they make, you know, that they are dedicated to making actual role-playing games. And quite frankly, each game was less and less of an RPG. And that's the problem. You don't get to hype your game up on being an open world RPG where your choices matter, you create your own character, and then you strap me down to a fucking, I don't know if that's accurate, but fuck it, a 5 hour railroad intro where you get no choices and your interactivity is reduced to such stunning things like press F to swallow pills, press F to go to sleep, press F to stand up. That's not choice. You're making me push a button to realize whether I'm still watching your fucking movie. But
yeah.
I certainly understand why they put Hideo Kojima into the game now.
Wait, they did?
Yes, Hideo Kojima actually is in some club. They're actually, yeah, he is in the game.
Oh God,
Wait a second. Will not
this, this
see that in the video, but or maybe I'll put it on. But let me quickly pull up the screenshot.
that explains so much. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Uh, Again, it explains so much. If the people behind this game are such huge Hideo Kojima fans, I can understand why they are blown away by their cinematic experience And I think we kind of put a pin in the statement of that before. As great as the cinematography of this video game is, to me that is a fucking poison pill to the entire fucking genre. I know I sound over dramatic with this, but at this point in game development, it's so tedious. It's so tiresome.
It really is so tiresome. Good cinematography and cinematics and such should be the cherry on top, not the main feature.
Like this point where you regain consciousness after being killed, and then you get press forward to crawl forward. Gee, thanks, man. That's
Ye-
and wait a second. There's this one point I want to bring up, but that one I actually want to bring up later on. Oh yeah, there's one more point, and I think we cut upon that with the Hideo Kojima thing. There really is a disturbing trend in video games with this whole celebrity worship. Like they I guess it's another of these stupid diseases that comes from video games trying to be more and more like movies. But you have these cameos. Like you have Hideo Kojima, you have fucking apparently I saw it in Harmful's videos, some YouTuber who is some street prophet in the game and whom
yeah.
you can't kill,
Yes. Oh.
right? Because it's actually
Oh.
it's astonishing how far they went. Like your little info
No.
about the little info about the game.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Little info about the game is if a character is not meant to be killed by you, your character actually puts the gun to the side or puts it down. I don't know what the exact animation is, but basically, Harmful got fucked by this when he was in a gunfight alongside Jackie. And of course, you're not meant to shoot Jackie. And they didn't want to make him invulnerable, although he totally is. Right up until the point he dies. Spoiler alert. The problem is that Jackie actually, due to this mechanic, can work as a shield for the enemy. Because if you try to shoot someone, if you try to shoot an enemy that is standing close to Jackie, the presence of Jackie will make you lower your gun and block you from shooting. And you can't. The same applies to that YouTuber who is in the game as a street prophet. But that's not all. He's immune to grenades, and you can't even drive him over with a car because they put an invisible war. In
So, it's
I
coming.
I can't believe I'm saying this. I wish there was an invisible war in this game. Uh, at least invisible war didn't strap me on a fucking story railroad for 5 hours. But yeah, there's an invisible wall that you crush against. You can't kill that YouTuber because he's a YouTuber. He's not plot relevant. He just has a contract with CDPR, I guess.
Yeah. That's something that's pissed me off so much. You see, the thing about it is it's not as harmful first thought that it was, his contract preventing you from killing him. Oh no, it's so much worse. In this RPG with a lot of choices, you are prohibited from killing even non-essential NPCs as long as there's a quest related to them.
Oh god.
Yes, I discovered this when I played this one side mission where there's a couple of monk brothers. One of them was badly butchered and he had a lot of cybernetics inserted into him, very roughly. Uh, yeah, I just realized what I said. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but that goes against his religious teachings. Body purity, all that.
Hmm.
Uh, and he was the first one let out, and his brother is next. And I don't know why he didn't go to the police or something, but whatever. He's when you meet him, he's just begging at a corner, not even calling the police or anything. But yeah, whatever. Writing, you need a side quest. Um, so you're asked to help him out, and well, I did. I killed the 4 or 5 gang members that were there keeping him prisoner. I talked to the guy, and he's like, "You have saved me, but you have killed others to do so. My life is not that important that you have inflicted suffering upon others. How dare you? You're a monster." Yeah, and my natural response to that was to, after the whole dialogue ran out, because of course you're locked into dialogue every time it starts, was to try and murder him.
Balance
You
the
know,
scales, to serve
yeah,
justice.
yes. So, and you guess what? I could not. My gun lowers every time I look at him, trying to time my shot for the bullet to hit him in the head when he's walking by. Also didn't work despite the bullet passing through him. He went outside, which I figured hopefully was a death sentence for him, because my car was so outside. You see, it would have been quite comical if I failed at this, but I tried to drive through him, into him, I mean,
Mhm.
and of course there was no collision, so I drove through him. And since we were at the dock, I stopped at the last inch so that my car wouldn't tip over into the sea.
Ooh, he was
Yeah,
never there to begin with.
yeah. I was hoping that I could just, at least nudge him off after that. Have his AI react like getting out the way of the car, but no, no, he was just there, sitting in a meditative position, looking at the ocean and not giving a fuck.
I think
Uh,
I think I even saw Harmful trying to run over a bunch of children trying to go over a crosswalk, which, by the way, I find it fucking amazing that crosswalks survived in the Cyberpunk future.
oh yeah, there's something there too. I've encountered that quest myself. I finished the quest.
Hmm.
Uh, I was also pissed there because that was actually shortly after this story that I just said. Um, I got to that crosswalk. I saw that the children were, crossing over, and I thought, well, they could also cross over into the afterlife. So I got the gas. I got the gas hard, and lo and behold, my car stopped magically.
Yep.
Yep. I also later figured out that you cannot kill children at all, just like the non-essential quest NPCs. You just cannot kill them.
And I quote myself from earlier. Unfortunately, playing as Geralt, there are certain things that we cannot do because Geralt would never do them. But V is a blank slate, and therefore we can create whatever we want. Whatever we want. Whatever we want.
Yes, indeed, whatever we want,
Uh-huh.
except all the things that we do want. Yeah, wait. I think I do have the screenshot. I'll send it over just so you can marvel at it. Oh boy, yeah. So immediately all my choices regarding to NPCs are severely limited.
I just,
Um,
I just thought that is a really weird bumper figure.
no, that's the person. So, yeah, on top of that, let's talk about the side quests.
Oh,
You
okay.
see, I've completed a lot of side quests. I actually bumped up my street cred level up to over 20. Uh, so I did something, at least 20 quests on the side that are side quests. Okay, so the variety in side quests is not zero, but almost zero. Um, you see, the only kind of side quest that wasn't outright murder, death, kill was the one I said before about you contacting the policewoman, actually going to her apartment in the motel. That that was something that a lot of streamers also caught. It's near the main quest and it's easy to pick up. So aside from that, all the quests I've done so far have been go to this area. I have this friend or whatever client that needs to be rescued.
Mhm.
You go to rescue them, and they're in either one of two situations. They're either already a prisoner, or they are about to be attacked when you show up.
Okay.
And then you kill a bunch of people, and then you lead the NPC to the car, and that's the end of the quest. There was some variation. There was one that was kind of interesting because the NPC in question was some kind of a reporter who had somehow rigged up an entire building in landmines and gun turrets. But well, he was broadcasting something.
Mhm.
Aside from that, every other quest has been just walk in, kill everyone, walk out. Walk in, kill everyone, walk out. Sometimes you need to loot a specific thing or send a message. Also, there was another type of quest, but I mean it's essentially the same, so I don't really count it. You need to encounter some psychos. They're essentially cyborgs gone mad. Um, the thing about that is you're told to use non-lethal measures to bring them down.
Mhm.
And okay, first time I followed the procedure, I lowered the enemy's health down to something very low, and then I beat them up with a baseball bat.
Okay.
But yeah, that again, that's the point. This is just a one-on-one boss fight.
Was
But
was was
as I later found out, uh, doesn't matter. You can use whatever, and they'll just fall over
great.
stunned instead of killed. And also later you can just kill them.
That actually
There is no consequence for if they fall over stunned, you get the quest completion, all's good. Pop a bullet into their head, and yeah, nothing happens.
that actually reminds me of that one video you released on your channel, the where you had a 3-minute fight with one guy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that
Uh,
wasn't even the start of the fight.
oh my fucking god. Shit. I
No,
actually thought
oh wait, let me just check what health percentage he had at the beginning.
I think like
Yeah, he
8.
was at 84.
Yeah.
84.
Right.
Yeah,
So you already fought him for like fuck knows how long.
yeah, but the point of that, I mean, kinda is the health and things, but you see, it was easily gameable through grenades because the AI just is completely helpless once it falls over. I didn't mention this before, but I've had AI that would trip over dead bodies and also become helpless because, well, they're on the floor. That has also happened too many times. But the thing was, it was not challenging in any way other than the fact that I had to constantly shoot.
Yeah.
Uh, this is artificial difficulty a la Skyrim, which is why I made the description there. Um, this is how Skyrim handles difficulty. Setting it to legendary in Skyrim just means that you have half the health, and the enemies have double or quadruple the health that you have.
That
I can't remember quite which one was it.
that's actually something I noticed. There have been a shit ton of Skyrim comparisons to Cyberpunk in all matter of issues, whether it's the linear opening, whether it's oh yeah, by the way, speaking of the opening, just out of curiosity, how long does it actually take? Because the game does another thing that I just fucking hate. It has this hour-long intro part.
Yeah.
How long does it take for you to from starting the actual game to getting to the title screen?
Oh boy. I actually cannot give you a proper estimate because I played it a week apart. So I got past like half the intro a week ago, and then I got into Act 2 today. But free ball estimate. I mean, this is exacerbated by the fact that I really did a lot of side quests that the game didn't account for, which I also want to mention later. Um, let's see.
Like 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour?
Over 2 hours.
Oh,
Over two
Jesus
hours.
Christ.
3 hours. I think. I'd say 3 hours.
Just,
Let's boot up a stream. Just a sec. Let's see. There's someone. Cyberpunk 2077 stream. There's got to be something. Let's see. Let's see. There's Ali B Mac, whatever. Let's see when. No, this is not the starting stream. Full playthrough. Okay. PewDiePie posted a full playthrough video. Let's see. He picked a nomad. All right. He is in this. Oh Jesus! Wait. Oh, it's over 3 hours.
oh, God.
So, judging by PewDiePie, he has a 3 hour video which he starts after character creation,
Okay.
and at that point, he did the pre-mission to the Plaza mission. Okay, and now see at which point he gets to the title screen when I add up the time. Okay, so he is. What I can tell, he's actually playing without finishing side quests. Yep. He is fighting in the plaza. Fighting in the plaza. Running from the plaza. Okay, at 5 hours, Jackie has died.
Oh, God, why?
Yep. Okay, let's move on.
For any for any viewer, Jackie dying still is not the end. I think you first go to the dock, you meet your Japanese friend, and
No. It's the opposite actually.
it's the opposite.
Yeah, you are not even at the dock yet. So at 5 hours and 8 minutes, according to PewDiePie's gameplay, you get the title drop. But after the title drop is the crawling section
Oh,
and
for
the Keanu Reeves section. So
oh,
okay,
right. The title screen pops up when you get shot in the head, right?
yep. Okay, so moving on. 5 hours 8 minutes. That's the title screen. Keanu then comes in. That's another 15 minutes at least. And then Takimura comes in, and then let's see. I'll get to the apartment where you can just actually play again.
Where you can take the red pill or the blue pill.
Okay, you get out of the shower after your sad wank in 5 hours and 44 minutes. If you are not playing side quests.
Oh my fucking God.
So
So
yeah,
so
that's
let's be very gracious. Let's pretend PewDiePie is an idiot. Pretend. And fucks around a lot, screws up a lot. I don't know if that's the case, but let's assume, and let's be really gracious and shave off an entire hour of that. That would be 4 hours before you get to the title screen. Jesus fucking Christ.
yep.
They would.
The sad thing is, I really don't see that though. Just from skipping through the,
Yeah,
he's really just going in for the main story, and that's it.
and again, this is where the more we talk about these things, the more certain elements come back that I forgot to mention before, like a scene. I think that was with the spiffing Brit, where he and Jackie were involved in a fight with some robot guy, but the Brit decided not to fight the robot guy. He instead
Oh yeah.
he instead ran towards the elevator that you were meant to run after you killed the robot guy. And that's
Yeah.
where Jackie was supposed to be mortally wounded, and he drags himself to the elevator, and you think, oh, we survived this, but now Jackie's bleeding out. He immediately ran to the elevator, called the elevator, upon which Jackie's script triggered. So Jackie
Yep.
immediately went from completely healthy to, oh, I'm so wounded, oh, and dragged himself over the entire plaza, I guess?
Yeah, there's something that I also gained that impression from watching streams. However, having played it, it's not actually where Jackie gets injured. Jackie gets injured way before.
Oh my fucking god. Wow.
Jackie gets injured uh like 15 minutes before that. When he falls badly from escaping the penthouse. So, he when he's in combat, he's actually behaving quite differently compared to what his wounded state would suggest. So I think that's just something that the developers said, fuck it, leave the combat AI as is.
Yeah.
But yeah, also I can tell you that the whole thing where Jackie, leans over on the side of the elevator, before entering, it also happens if you do defeat the robot, which leads me to the very fun fact about how I play the game. You see, uh, I had at first one objective in mind. I wanted to repay Victor Vector, the Ripper Doc,
Mhm.
because I found him to be a nice, really good guy. So I felt bad, I figured, the way this story is panning out, maybe he won't survive later, or I don't know, something might happen that might render me unable to pay him later or something. So I decided to just get the credits I need. I mean, eddies I need.
Mhm.
I did so. I actually paid him back in full, and I saw the Mantis Blade upgrade. I was like, I need 20 street cred for this, and I already amassed something like 9 or 10 just by getting the money for him. And I had a lot of eddies already, so yeah, sure, I'll just complete more side quests and get those.
Uh-huh.
In the meantime, of course, I leveled up a lot. Got a lot of perks for the pistols because I figured out the pistols have a lot of potential for breaking. Even without having seen the Spiffing Brit videos, I saw the perks myself. And I saw later that the blades also had a lot of potential for being broken, and they're tied to the same attribute. So I'm like, okay, seems like I'll do the same thing I did in I Divine Cybermancy. I'll be maxing out katanas and pistols.
Mhm.
So I went that route. I sunk only 2 perk points into blades. Haven't done much on them. By luck, I managed to find a mod for the Mantis blades. The Mantis blades being those arm blades that you saw in the car chase scene.
Yeah, yeah, you actually, for those again unaware, the mantis blades, I mean, everyone probably knows them, but you saw them in one of the very earliest trailers for the game when that half-naked chick sits in the streets. She actually has them. There's blades that come out of the
Yeah,
arms.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're actually pretty great. Um, so yeah, as I was saying, at that point in the game, I was hitting headshots for 500 to 700 crit damage. It was pretty good. And when I got the Mantis Blades, depending on the situation, if I wasn't against an over-leveled enemies, I was extremely effective. I could one-shot people just by lunging with a strong attack. And yeah, your strong attack with the Mantis Blades actually has massive range that you just lunge at people. And if you're not in combat at the moment, you essentially do Skyrim stealth kill on them. You just pierce them with the blades. Or actually, that could probably be compared to Deus Ex. You just stab them through, and they don't alert anyone.
Yeah.
And I've actually used that to great effect. Clearing out some gang hideouts. But yeah, and if you are in combat, your strong attack hits for something like, again, 500, 600, 700, 800, doesn't matter. I also had a lot of crit chance modifiers, but that's a whole different story. The balancing in the game is shit. Um, so keep that in mind. I had those Mantis Blades. The game didn't account for me having access to that for the Plaza mission. In the Plaza mission, you have no weapons, and you have to sneak up and kill some guards to get your first weapons, your pistols or something. It was a good thing I had my Mantis Blades because the mission got bugged, and one of the guards that was supposed to face away from us was facing towards us, so there was no way to stealth kill them. So, good thing I had my backup. Uh, and when we got to the lobby fight where you have the big robot and you're supposed to be an oh shit moment, I two shot him. I hit him with 2 power attacks and the robot exploded.
And that's it. Great.
And that's it. Yeah. Also, later, um, when you're in, like, supposed to rush to the taxi, uh, yeah, I didn't rush to the taxi because the enemies were completely helpless against me. Yeah, essentially 1 or 2 shot all the enemies, despite them having much better gear and were supposed to be higher level than you.
But
Which,
that actually feeds once again into the insane turbo linearity of the game. Like they honestly didn't see anyone trying to do this. They
yeah,
just you're supposed to be as strong as the developers want you to be at the section A.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And you can also see how else they didn't anticipate that I would have Mantis blades at this part of the story. If you can check the screenshot I just sent, I'm sending more. I was saving these up.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I think I'll put that one up on the.
yeah. In this next one, also you'll want to put up. Trust me. This is me washing my hands and washing my face.
He's. I mean, you just. Oh my fucking god. Yeah,
Yep.
they really didn't assume anyone would get the, which is idiotic. Again, for especially for an open world RPG and the weapon that they promoted since the earliest trailers of the game.
Yep. No one would ever want to, go rush that before continuing the story. Not anyone.
No, why? Why would you want them? I mean, they're promoted everywhere, but fuck it.
Yep.
But
Uh
that actually, one more thing I want to just mention for completion's sake has nothing to do with that, but I want to close that chapter before I go to the next one. Another thing regarding the celebrity worship, it's not only that they have the whole, YouTuber and actual actors thingy. Another thing they do a lot is references, pop culture references, because we love
oh.
those. They're actually. I will not say as much about this because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the conversation too much. But let's just say there is actually a fucking "the cake is a lie" reference in the game.
Oh yeah, and using the actual GLaDOS voice for it, and no, the game's awful with its writing, uh, because the jargon that they use, uh, details are said deets. If you want to say something is cool or great, you say preem, which I'm assuming is short for premium. Uh, Business is never said business, but biz, and there was only one person who actually pulled off Biz in the entire game so far, and that was Dexter. He had that vibe to him. big fat black guy, smoking a cigar, all lounged back, deep voice, obviously some kind of pimp energy going on, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, I got some biz for you."
Oh,
That worked. That worked. But when your fixer says biz, when you say biz, when Jackie says biz, that just sounds awful. Also, your character V says deep when discussing when discussing her imminent death. She's like, "Give me all the deets. Don't leave one deet out."
oh my
I'm like,
fucking
I'm on.
god. What?
Jesus, you're about to die and you're still saying deets. Please die.
I can only say one thing to that. Holy cyber cow.
Yeah. Oh, you'll love this. I can't remember where, but we actually said Hella.
Oh my fucking god, no! No! Why does it chase me? I, I
We
don't
said
want it.
Hella at one point. I know. I immediately thought of you.
No! Stop it. A game is
Yeah.
so bad, why do people keep referencing it?
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing that I wanted to give in terms of balancing and such. I do have a lot of grenades and med packs and all that you know just are way over quantity for what I need. But the main point I wanted to bring up now that I mentioned that I unlocked a revolver recently. That by leveling up my body attribute, because apparently it has enough kick that you need to be strong enough to wield it. Um, I used to do like back before the main quest, 5 to 700 damage per headshot when I hit a critical, which was often because I gamed the system with clothing mods and such. Um, Now when I tested it out just before closing the game for the last time, I managed to hit my first headshot, which I'm guessing has a sneak modifier on it, consistently for over 5,000 damage with the new revolver. And the non-sneak attack versions of the damage is something like 1 to 2,000. This is enough to one-shot any enemy, including the high-level police.
Yeah, I can imagine if a normal crit was like, what did you say, 500, and then
Yeah,
Jesus
10
Christ.
times that. Yeah. Also, something else that I wanted to
This
say,
is
but
while you look for that, this is something I don't think this mix of action combat and RPG combat works. I
yeah,
mean, it bites itself. Like the boss fight I mentioned before that you made a video
yeah,
about. It's so ridiculous if you slide around, shoot the gun, throw grenades, and the guy just goes, "Oh no, ah no," for fucking 5 minutes straight.
yeah. Oh yeah, the one thing I did want to mention. I believe I was punching way above my weight category while playing because I was just going around indiscriminately, and at the start of the game, all the enemies were bullet sponges, very much so. And that is the exactly what you just said. The RPG type combat doesn't mesh well with shooters
Yeah,
because, well, as you can see, it leads to these things where enemies are just bullet sponges despite you hitting multiple headshots, etc., etc. It just doesn't work.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
there
another thing.
was mm,
That's
there
another
was
thing we
this
saw with harmful. That apparently for some weapons headshots don't mean much.
yeah.
How did he say it? But with others, like he called them tech weapons. I don't know what that refers to, but with
Oh
them apparently headshots suddenly became relevant.
oh no. I know what he was referring to. It wasn't that for some weapons headshots were irrelevant. All weapons have some kind of headshot multiplier, be it just a normal headshot multiplier or more. The thing about tech weapons wasn't that headshots mattered for them. It was that they actually had a headshot multiplier despite being so overpowered by the fact that they shoot through walls and have wall hacks built into their scopes.
Great.
That was the problem, and I know the exact sniper rifle he was using because I also used it. It's absolutely broken. Uh, you can shoot enemies, and unless they also have a tech weapon, which usually they don't, they can't do anything about it. They don't. You can shoot through buildings, entire buildings, into an enemy, and it'll hit if you charge up the shot. The only downside is that there's some slight shaking of the scope. It's annoying, but you can actually compensate fairly well.
Oh,
And
oh,
only the headshots are kind of hard to hit, but otherwise you can afford to waste ammo. I had a ton of ammo for the sniper rifle that I could just, you know, game the system if I found an encounter too hard, which I never did. But well, I did it once for fun because I wanted to clear out the building without ever entering it.
which actually brings me to a point where I mentioned at the very beginning, and this is the next chapter that I referred to it before, a part where I can make no judgment, but you can. I've heard a lot of mixed statements about the combat in the game. I mean, we already established the issue with bullet sponge enemies, but I'm a bit, despite all my negative criticism towards the game, I'm a bit skeptical here because I remember people were shitting on the combat in The Witcher 3, and that's actually something I've played enough of the game for. I actually like the combat in Witcher 3. I like the different. It might have been a bit overwhelming at the beginning because you can roll, you can sidestep, you can block, you can parry, counter, etc. But I liked it. Maybe if I play a bit more, it gets tedious. I don't know. But for people have been saying Witcher 3's combat is shit. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah, I've heard the opposite, and my impression from what little I played of The Witcher 3 is that the combat's actually pretty good,
Yeah,
well implemented. You can dodge, you can use alchemy, you can use magic at the same time. No, it's all pretty seamless to me.
yeah. And for Cyberpunk, I've heard that the melee combat is shit
Yep.
and the gunplay is average.
Yep.
What's your, and again, this is where I have to completely rely on you because I don't think I can judge that even remotely fairly by just watching footage. What's the what's your impressions of the combat in general?
Um, my impressions of the combat are that uh, shooting feels pretty weightless and meaningless unless you have done what I have done, which is mm, optimize your build so that your revolvers essentially always kill in one shot with a headshot. That's the only time that I've felt like my bullets were doing anything relevant. I've had times where I've shot a shotgun into people point blank, and due to how, of course, the leveling mechanics and everything works because this is supposed to be an RPG, I do minimal damage to the enemy, but the force of the shotgun is unaffected by this, so they tumble over. So I do like 16 damage to an enemy who has, I don't know, 106 health, but he falls over like I hit him with a fury of God.
So basically, you
Yeah,
stun lock them.
yeah, I can stun lock them if I want with a proper shotgun,
Great.
even when I'm low level and they're high level. This is not so viable because, well, when there's one dude that you can do 16 damage to, there's also at least two or three more dudes around him. So you can't just stun lock them all. You don't have the First, you don't have the ammo, then you don't have the firing rate, and then yeah,
Yeah.
essentially it's not viable. So you have to optimize your build. I'm Which leads me to the point where I'm not sure if I've at what weight class I'm fighting because at the start, before I optimized the build, I had to waste a lot of ammo to kill people, and then later I was not waste. I just kill in a couple of shots. So I'm not sure if at the start I was just being in areas that I wasn't supposed to be, and my class optimization, so to speak, allowed me to keep fighting, or if I don't know, this was the intended way. Um, what else? Yeah. Also for the melee combat, essentially the only part that feels kind of good is the timed lock, and I say kind of good because it's very rough. And again, your hits feel pretty weightless and meaningless. They're I don't know. I've defeated enemies at times that I couldn't really tell if I've defeated or not until they, tumbled to the ground
Hmm.
because there was no difference between it. It feels like you're, well, I wouldn't say hitting like you're in a dream, but it's pretty like your arms are pillows essentially.
So there's not much feedback for you.
No, no,
You
no, not at
you
all.
basically just click the left mouse button until things stop moving.
Yeah. That is not the case for the Mantis Blades, for instance. So much, at least.
Hmm.
Uh, the heavy attacks feel like powerful, especially if you trigger the kill animation on them, because you just hook them onto the blades and throw them over. Um, there's also, if you do a lunging attack, most of the time you'll actually decapitate someone immediately because the damage is so high. And they feel satisfying later because of the dismemberment mechanics. Once you kill the enemy, because at first if you're just mashing quick attacks, you're just cutting them up. But if you mash quick attacks after they die, they'll start losing limbs,
Great.
which yeah makes sense. But yeah. Oh, also since we're on the side of losing limbs and therefore armor, I absolutely hate the fact that the armor system is completely random, that the armor values can lead to it being. I've had a broad that had more armor than actual police armor in
Right.
my inventory.
Good that you bring that up. I completely forgot about it, but yet you sent me actually several screenshots. Uh, They basically copy pasted the armor system from The Witcher 3, as far as I can see, but
Uh,
they completely forgot to consider credibility.
yeah,
So so
this is
so you have
this is
trilbies and bras and short pants, hot pants. Sorry, that was the name. That have more armor than actually armored items.
yeah, yeah. This is one one for one an exact copy of Ghost Recon Breakpoint, for instance, where the armor values were, you'd get a bunch of the same item that had different armor values because it was picked up at a different time,
Hmm.
and where nothing made sense because you could have a shirt that had more armor than something that was, I don't know, a hoodie or whatever. Oh, and another thing, there are enemies who have melee weapons as well, of course. Um, and they usually, almost all the time, can dodge your bullets if they want to, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Leading to a bit of frustration there for me, but honestly, I can see it as plausible because you yourself can equip a cybernetic implant that allows you to slow time for 8 seconds. So I can, excuse that as, yeah, for a short period of time, this guy can dodge bullets because he's super jacked up or whatever. I can understand that, but it's a little just there's no way to hit them if they're in that mode. They're just outright invincible to your bullets until they decide they're not invincible to your bullets,
Great.
which is a little annoying. You cannot lead your shot and be like, aha, now I'm gonna I'm gonna aim to the left this time because he just dodged to the left, but no, he just dodged again. That's
Wonderful.
yeah.
Which I guess brings me to the last point, which I dubbed fittingly excuses.
Well,
This is, I guess it was predictable, but it's still astonishing the number of excuses people make for this game.
oh yeah,
Mostly exclusively on the, in my opinion, mostly earned good reputation of CDPR. Uh, as I said on Twitter some days ago, I'm actually jaded enough that I don't really care about development studios anymore. It's I had my time with Blizzard, and that went also a certain predictable way.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
the only thing I'm really worried about really at this point is I don't want GOG to financially suffer. And if the cynic in me is true, we probably don't have to worry at all about it. I know people like to scream from the rooftops that the stock for CDPR is plummeting, but I don't think it hit them that hard. It will of course be significant, maybe significant enough that they learn from this fiasco. I actually consider CDPR one of the few companies that still isn't utterly learning resistant so far. But ultimately, to me, it matters little as long as GOG stays alive, because that's the one thing I really don't want. I genuinely don't want to die.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, mostly people like CDPR. That's why they were looking forward to the game. And now they're making up excuses for the game. Like we mentioned before with the whole they focus on storytelling, they were rushed. One that is very popular and that I have no sympathy for whatsoever is the whole, oh, it was overhyped. I even saw people like the guy who made the Nerf Now webcomic going, oh, this is what Cyberpunk promised and this is what people thought Cyberpunk would do. In this case, I can make no excuses for CDPR because they hyped the game up to that degree. It's not like
yeah,
they said, okay, we want to make an RPG, you will be able to this and that, and then suddenly online influencers and YouTubers started fantasizing about features that they could never realize. They themselves promised all this shit. They themselves promised your choices matter. They themselves promised it's a very in-depth RPG. You will have these features and those features. You can do this and that and have these consequences apply. I mean, they give this 40-minute vertical slice of that mission with the chick in the bathtub that we mentioned before with the hyperspray.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They showed. I mean, oh no, they actually showed the entire section right up until you meet that corpo woman.
Yeah, I'm
And,
pretty sure.
and they even hired a narrative guy who said, "Oh, you can choose this alternative. You can go this way or that way with this mission." And they didn't deliver upon their own promises. And I don't get the whole, we need to make excuses for them just because we like this developer. If you like the developer, you will be honest with your criticism, because otherwise they will turn into all those development companies that people proclaim they hate. And I say proclaim because, oh no, the industry is in shambles. There's so much corruption. Well, will you stop buying from these companies? Hell no. It's a sad dance, and I'm kind of losing my direction here. But yeah, the point is
Yeah,
ultimately, if you want CDPR to remain a gaming company that is known for releasing good games, you will be honest and say, this game just isn't good.
yeah. I
Otherwise, they
have
will
two.
just do it again. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, then I agree. You need to call them out for it. But
Yeah.
there are two things that I wish to share. First is this one. I'll read them off.
Hmm.
This is This is a comment from the Cyberpunk teaser trailer that released in 2013. Listing all the things that happened between this trailer and the release.
Mhm.
So, 2 Resident Evil remakes, 2 The Last of Us games, 2 Rockstar open world games, 2 Dark Souls games, 11 Call of Duties, 9 Assassin's Creeds, 3 Miyazaki games, 2 Uncharted's, 2 Devil May Cry's, 3 Watch Dogs. Let's see. Baldur's Gate relaunch. Diablo 4 has been announced. Let's see. 2 Fallouts, 4 Battlefields, 2 World Cups, 5 JoJo animations, 2 Popes, 2 Spider-Man reboots in the theaters, 3 Avengers movies, and the launch of PlayStation 4 and 5.
Skyrim in the fridge.
Skyrim in the fridge.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
And this one is a bit more serious to say. This is an actually incredibly good review that seems to be agreeing with our points here, actually. And it's got 46,500 upvotes on Reddit, which is surprising because I'd figure Reddit would be the Cope Central of for
Yeah,
Cyberpunk.
I mean, I'm skimming it right now. I will probably put a link to the image in the description so people
Yeah,
can read it
but
themselves. But yeah, I can already, just by skimming the several paragraphs, there are several points that I completely agree with. I've said in some conversations with people before, uh, especially the last sentence. It's all style but no substance.
yeah,
I in another conversation, I said that Cyberpunk 2077 is like a Fabergé egg. It looks really nice. When it when it works, it looks stunningly beautiful, but it's hollow. There's nothing to it.
yeah,
And I said it before in jest, but as much as I still believe that Invisible War is a bad game, is at least a bad Deus Ex game, I would consider it a better game than Cyberpunk because you have actual role playing, you have actual choices right from the get go. And I will somewhere down the road, given my personal release schedule with videos, probably 5 years from now, I want to make a video about what makes an RPG because that's this eternal question that every time a game like this comes out, what actually makes up an RPG? And the core point I want to raise in that video and explain on it is that RPGs, whether it's digital or in pen and paper, is all about choices and maybe even more importantly, consequences to these choices. And that is why I think so many modern RPGs, Cyberpunk very much included, struggle with being perceived as real RPGs. They offer you a shit ton of choices in some regards, but there are no consequences to those choices, neither positive nor negative. It's just, you could choose between purple fingernails or green fingernails. Who gives a flying fuck? And yeah, that's it. That goes right into the direction with no substance. There's just nothing there. And I would honestly recommend, if you are looking for Cyberpunk games, play the Deus Ex games. Play all the Deus Ex games. Well, okay, not all of them. You can forget the Fall. I wouldn't recommend that. Slightly worse gunplay than in Cyberpunk. Um, but yeah, the original Deus Ex from 20 fucking years. Jesus Christ.
yep.
Consider that
20 years.
20, actually 21 at this point, because we have the end of December. A 21-year-old game still is can compete with modern games. That's actually fucking sad. Invisible War is a more polished product, and never thought I'd say that. Uh, Human Revolution, a great return to form, actually works way better as a cyberpunk game. Mankind Divided, bit weaker on the storytelling in my opinion than Human Revolution, but gameplay-wise far superior. And one thing, Mankind Divided got a lot of shit. Many of it deserved, I have to say. But it actually does avoid an issue that I also see. And again, feel free to correct me on this one. It fights the empty sandbox syndrome that is so common among many open world games. You know, they say, "Oh, we have this giant world that's still only a quarter of Daggerfall's map." But the problem is that there's nothing to do in that giant world. There are a few things here and there, but they're repetitive. They're spread out far, and mostly it's just a giant empty sandbox.
Yeah.
Mankind Divided was a lot smaller than many open world games, but there was something to discover almost everywhere.
Yeah,
S-
I cannot comment on Mankind Divided because I haven't played that or Human Revolution.
mhm,
But yeah, I can say that about the original Deus Ex,
yeah.
where you had missions that were in very large areas where you can go get quite lost in, such as Hong Kong. Uh, Whoever created all those walkways should burn in hell. Uh, but yeah, there was always something to discover. I'd got, especially in Hong Kong, I got lost so many times that I'd I accidentally found some guy living in a shack, and he gave me, I don't know what was it that he gave me. I think not a med kit, or but some type of healing item, I believe. And then later on, after having spent so many hours in Hong Kong, I'd seen a video somewhere where some guy entered a bar that I never even saw in on the map, despite me playing all of Deus Ex in a very completionist manner.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, despite it being much smaller than modern games, there was always so many things to find.
And I want to, I mean, like, they're currently on sale, on heavy sale, so ultimately they will be slightly more expensive. But that is another thing I think people should consider. You can either get the broken mess, broken hollow mess that is Cyberpunk right now for $60, or you can buy the entire Deus Ex franchise, again, without the fall, uh, on GOG right now for a total of €11.
Wait,
Yeah,
all of Deus Ex.
the Deus Ex Mankind Divided Digital Deluxe Edition is currently on sale for $6.79.
Wow.
Human Revolution Director's Cut, $2.99. Invisible War, 99 cents. And Deus Ex GOTY Edition, 99 cents.
Wow.
You can get
And
yeah, the,
and Deus Ex is full price €7 on Steam right now.
yeah. So even without sale, you can get the entire Deus Ex franchise for a fraction of the cost of Cyberpunk 2077, which will grant you four games with 100 times the actual content of this new super RPG. That is actually depressing.
Yep. Yep. No, I'm just now reading the reviews on Deus Ex, the original one. And here, the top review in the past 30 days is it's better than Cyberpunk 2077, lol. Yeah, the next one is my essentially my experience. Almost 36 hours and 400 save scans later, it's done. What a ride this game was. Best RPG of all time, gets thrown out a lot, and it's hard to believe. You fired this bad boy up, aging graphics, aging gameplay, blah 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 blah. However, you're greatly rewarded for your persistence. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
much it. The moment I sunk into the game and got comfortable with the controls, that was it. I couldn't put it down for the next 3 days.
yeah, precisely. And that's again, the word nostalgia goggles gets thrown around a lot, but as I said on several occasions, and I guess I'll say it once more, at least one more time, when I praise Deus Ex as this amazing game that can still keep up with modern titles, I don't say that, euphorically. I don't say, hey, great, my favorite game of all times. It still holds up. I say that with a certain sadness and depression because, again, it's been 2 fucking decades. We made technological advances that are amazing. For fuck's sake, game development itself has become significantly easier than it was 20 years ago. Mark Kern actually made a video about this. That thanks to things like Unity, everyone who's willing to put in the effort can actually sit down and create a video game. Uh, If you remember Ghost of a Tale, for instance, Ghost of a Tale, and anyone who watches this video, just look up screenshots of that game. Ghost of a Tale was made by one guy. One motherfucking guy. And despite it being so much easier, modern games still struggle with keeping up with the depth of these old games. I mentioned Daggerfall fleetingly before. While I wouldn't touch the controls of Daggerfall with a 10-foot pole anymore, uh, the game world is significantly larger, but also significantly deeper than many modern game worlds. And again, we've shifted into a more general state of the industry kind of debate, but all of this very much applies to Cyberpunk.
It's very relevant, and I believe, personally, I believe that the reason this is occurring, and also on the Deus Ex note, you should remember that I never played Deus Ex until a year ago in 2019.
Hmm.
I played a 19-year-old game, and it became my favorite game of all time. Uh, a title previously held by Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Uh, it's amazing, but yeah, it definitely holds up. It's personally the best game to have ever come out. If we're ranking it like that, it's Deus Ex then Doom,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Which Doom I also played for the first time in 2019.
And one
Uh,
time,
uh,
one of these days, I'll actually get you to play Planescape Torment, and then you will just weep when you return to Cyberpunk.
yeah,
again,
but
again, it was a little jab at you, but in all sincerity, when we have this whole discussion about role-playing games, when you see the amount of freedom of choice and, for fuck's sake, the fucking dialogue options in just the first area
yeah,
of Planescape Torment, I guarantee you,
the
you will weep.
options because I've played part of the first area. I only got out of the morgue.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
that was more dialogue choices I had than in 30 hours of Cyberpunk.
Just, I mean, yeah, we're laughing, but seriously, consider that. It's the morgue. It's the first part of the game. It's a tiny fraction of a tiny fraction of one point of a map that you can explore, and it has so much to do, so many details.
I tried the game like half a year ago, and the dialogue is more memorable because I still remember the skull wanting to bang the corpses, which is more than I can say about most of Cyberpunk's dialogue, at least in terms of detail. Because well, I know the story beats because I play through them, but if you were now to ask me like the name of the reporter friend of my fixer, whose name oh yeah, Regina, I believe is the name of the fixer. Like such details escape me because they're so soulless, and that brings me back to what I wanted to say. The thing about the games as they are today and such, I believe that's a trend that started in the golden age, which I consider to be 2004 and 2007. Uh, because those games that were groundbreaking at the time, such as Half-Life 2, Doom 3 for its id engine, not even though it got a very mixed reception,
Mhm.
Crisis and such, they all did one thing, and they were pioneering technological advancements, how impressive the graphics were of their titles, and that provided a cinematic experience by
Mhm.
proxy. And I believe that people saw that in the industry and decided that that was the most important thing from there on out. That to really get a good game, you needed a groundbreaking technology in terms of presentation.
Yeah.
Not depth, not the gameplay, but presentation. That's what mainstream gaming has become. It's always, oh, look at the prettier graphics in this new Battlefield game that it's almost the same as the previous Battlefield game,
Yeah.
or this new Call of Duty that has nicer graphics than the last Call of Duty.
But that's actually that's one sentence I wanted to say in this video. The thing with the whole apologencia thingy. That that was a great sentence. You can clearly see my linguistic education right there. um, the thing I don't get is, or I do get it, but it's annoying as all hell, that Cyberpunk pretty much is an amalgamation of every bad design trend of the last 10 years. You
Well,
have you
it
have
makes sense since it was developed for the last
plus
10
10
years.
years. You have the turbolinearity of your Kojima hype fests. You have for fuck's sake, you have the fucking linearity of a Final Fantasy 13. Go down this hallway, go there. You have, quite frankly, shit writing. I mean, we touched upon this, but I don't think we went all that deep into the topic.
Oh yeah, because
But
really, I don't want to. I especially haven't really got too much material to work with because I haven't played much of the main story. But what I've seen was enough, considering that I've been railroaded into being stupid.
yeah,
Uh, with my own character at one point, I believe that when we was sitting with Jackie at the food vendor in the street, and she was like, Dexter Deshawn, but he isn't he like dangerous to work with or something like that. I remember her saying that, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and the whole we are just street rats, and then we're suddenly picked up for this ultra high profile job.
hmm
I kind of don't buy it. I'm not Motoko Kusanagi, and you're not my partner. We're just street rats.
yeah.
This isn't the kind of job for us, and it's obviously gonna go very wrong.
And then we have, of course, the celebrity thingy, which, by the way, can we just address that they outright fucking copied the bullshit trend of the Call of Duty games? Like whether it's
Uh,
Call of Spacey or God, what was his name? The guy who played in Special Victims Unit.
I see.
No, no, not that one. The other, the main guy, the white guy.
Oh wait, you.
He was. Wait a second. Special Victims Unit cast.
Oh wait, I think you mean the cop.
Yeah, yeah.
The cop in the intro.
Yeah, the he isn't bald, but he has this receding hairline.
Yeah, I don't think it was Special Victims Unit. I believe he was in. I wasn't sure if it was him actually, but I know where you're talking about. That guy was in uh CSI, CSI Las Vegas, I believe. Let me just check.
Neat.
Or maybe it was the other CSI. Uh, I knew I recognized him from somewhere. I know exactly the guy you mean. That was the
Chris
cop who was.
Christopher Maloney was the name. Yeah, Christopher Maloney. This guy. Wait a second. I'll link you the.
Yeah. Give me 1 second now. That guy?
Yeah, he was in one of the Call of Duty games.
Uh,
I'm fairly certain. Wait a second.
okay. I don't recognize that guy. I wasn't
Start.
actually talking about him. There was another, or maybe it was him. Give me a sec.
Or am I mistaking him now? I'm fairly
Mm,
certain I saw him in some shoot.
hold up, hold up. Hold up. Well, Kevin Spacey was in one of the because I knew you said Cole Spacey.
Yeah, Call of Spacey was the reference to that one.
Yeah. Cyberpunk 2077. I'll find them like that. They probably have the credits already. Yeah, Keanu Reeves, Karen, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, he was in Call of Duty Black Ops 3.
Oh,
Character name is John Taylor.
yeah, very.
Yeah, left quite an
Yeah,
impact. But that's again, you have the celebrity worship, you have the linearity, you have the reliance on semi-interactive cutscenes, minimalistic gameplay, simplified, watered-down role-playing mechanics. Basically, it's a collection of everything wrong with game design. But somehow, for some reason, CD Projekt, right? We all are supposed to love it. And that mentality right there is fucking bullshit.
yeah,
If one of these elements diminishes a game, then a collection of all of these elements should make an absolute shite game. And I guess the only real positive is that it fails on a high level, I guess. Or to put it in the other way, there are worse games. I guess that's a big selling point. They should put it on the box. Cyberpunk 2077. There are
not the
worse
worst.
games.
Yeah, not the worst experience of your life.
Woohoo.
Ah,
Cyberpunk 2077. Have you even played Mystery of the Druids?
the Druids.
The Druids.
Yeah, fittingly, I had my pizza before this.
I still insist that pizza makes more sense as a pronunciation because it's written with one I and two Z's, but it's a completely different conversation. Ah. But yeah,
Yeah,
unless you have something that on mind that we have forgotten, I think we've pretty much covered the cyberpunk experience.
yeah, pretty much. I think our thoughts on the matter are pretty clear that even without the bugs, this game is very underwhelming.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
that's actually
Vapid would be my choice of words because there's nothing under the surface at all.
yeah,
It's just a shooter that has a very railroaded story on which you have zero impact. Maybe you could choose the ending, but I'm not very convinced.
yeah, and
It should probably be the it's probably going to be the Deus Ex kind of ending where you're like, yeah, kill Bob Page or don't kill Bob Page and set off the reactor. Yeah, but become the hive mind by joining Keanu Reeves
oh god.
and ruling over the Earth as the AI mastermind.
But yeah, what you said there is actually a good conclusion point. What we mentioned before, that currently the attitude seems to be if they only could fix the bugs, everything would be fine. But the reality is this game is just even if they somehow magically released a patch that didn't make things worse. I mean, I don't think I've actually mentioned this before when after we started recording, but there was the guy I mentioned before in the other Discord who plays that game on the PlayStation. That
Yeah,
apparently after the new patch, the game locks players into the intro screen. Can't experience bugs if you can't play the game.
actually. Yes, the ultimate fix.
Yeah, but even if they surprisingly released a patch that fixed all the glitches, all the bugs, it still would be a fucking nothing burger of a game.
Yeah.
And again,
Uh,
I can't emphasize this enough. If you're looking for a cyberpunk game or a role-playing game, buy the entire
go
Deus Ex series. It really
yeah, go elsewhere.
yeah, it's cheaper and it offers way more, and you will play these games again. Or if you don't like Deus Ex, buy fucking Dex. minor game that barely anyone, I guess, remembers, but Dex was a kind of side-scrolling open world cyberpunk game. That actually is a better game, and let me quickly look up what it costs. It actually has a free demo on GOG, so you can actually test it without spending money on it. And even without sale, it's available for about 12 to 13 euros. So, in other
Uh,
words, roughly five times before you can buy one Cyberpunk.
yeah, I have a recommendation as well. If you want to play something that's truly cyberpunk, you go play High Divine Cybermancy. I won't I won't give I won't give any recommendation. I just want you to post this picture onto the video so
Yes,
the
yes,
so the people can pause and read it out.
I will absolutely do that. I actually saw that when you posted it in the other Discord. It was amazing. Oh God. In the interest of the health of our mental health of our viewers, we can't actually recommend EYE, but we can say that you can buy it.
Yes, it is available on Steam.
It is available on Steam. You can buy this game and you can play it.
Yes, and you can experience way less jank in this heavily modded source sport. You can experience jank still, you will, but it's
Yes.
not gonna be Cyberpunk.
Oh,
Also, the dialogue is better because you cannot understand it because it was originally in French and someone just ran it through Google Translate and pasted it into the game.
oh, one more point I have because fuck it, I will shill this gaming franchise as well. When people, you know, you would think that hiring celebrity actors would at least have the benefit of improving the acting. You
Yeah,
can you can play the original Blood Omen. No, you can't actually because it's barely available. You can play the original Soul Reaver game, and it will have better voice acting than Cyberpunk. There, I said
yeah.
it.
Yep, there you go. You can actually also play the original Blood Omen. I got it to work.
Yeah,
There's a patch that's I think very recently updated.
and and
Let's see,
those
Blood Omen
and those
patch.
who doubt me can suck cock by choice.
Yeah. Let's see, when was the latest update? On May 8th, 2018. Blood Omen came out. Let me just check. 21 years before that in 97.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The eternal goal of video games in the early 2020s compete with games that were released 20 to 30 years ago.
Jeez. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Right. Just for completion's sake, because we named it, when was Daggerfall released?
Oh, let's see.
That should be brutal.
Oh, there
Daggerfall,
you go.
1996. We have a winner.
Yep, there we do. That we do.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
And and if you're wondering, you can get Daggerfall for free. You can buy
well,
infinite Daggerfalls for the price of one Cyberpunk.
yes. And if you want a better shooting experience than in Cyberpunk, you can get the original Doom from 1993.
You know what makes it worse? Now that you mentioned Doom, I immediately thought of that dirt old commercial where Bill Gates was standing in front of a green screen in a Doom level and said, "These video games are getting real realistic."
Oh yeah, back in the day when operating systems were marketed by their games, not
Yes.
vice versa. Oh wow. Let's see. Wow. I don't know.
I mean, I guess as a final, somewhat comforting or more positive thought, I don't actually wish ill on on CD Projekt Red yet.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, I'm jaded enough, and I actually just judge game studios by the way they act and handle. And before anyone says it, yes, I'm fully well aware that CDPR doesn't have the best record when it comes to treating their employees, and that actually has been the
Yep.
case for far longer than most people nowadays on the web are aware of. I was actually aware of the shitty management in at CDPR during the time when The Witcher 2 was still new.
Oh well.
Yeah, even back then there were the consensus has basically not changed. It was always that in the trenches, so the coders, developers, designers, that was really fun to work with, but the managers were essentially assholes.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, and again, this has been the case since the days of The Witcher 2, which, give me a second, Witcher 2 was released
If you
2000.
want,
If you want a better CDPR experience, yeah, 2011.
Planescape Torment.
1999, that's what I know.
Yeah, yeah. If you want a better RPG experience.
But yeah, I'm fully aware that CDPR always had this bug on its shoulder. How fitting an expression. About employer treatment, and I always encourage people, don't get married to your idealized idea of a game studio, because
Or any corporation or
any
company in general. Also people.
exactly. But as far as developers goes, I still think that CDPR is one of the better ones. Uh, that can, of course, always change. They can. This might actually be the point where they completely go free fall and turn into the next EA, whatever.
Yep, possibly.
Um, but at the point of the making of this video, I don't actually wish them ill. I hope they take the criticism to heart, and I hope that whatever the next game will be, if there will be a next game, uh, they will learn from the issues and maybe include more gameplay into their video game.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath honestly.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I can understand this, but let's be hopeful. Oh, right, completely out of nowhere. One more thing we can discuss that's maybe even perfect for the ending. The maturity of the game. Did you know it?
Haha.
Do you know it had sex in it? Because it has sex in it.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah, I actually went in preparation for this conversation. I went to Pornhub and looked up Cyberpunk 2077 sex scenes, and
Oh yeah, you cannot because only verified people can upload that.
I actually saw them. I actually saw actual footage from the game, and maybe I'll make maybe 15 years from now, I will make a video about sex in video games. But yeah, if it's basically the same issue I had with the sex scenes of The Witcher 2. No, not because it's sexist, Anita Sarkeesian. Sit your fat ass down. Um, it's pointless. I mean, most sex in video games is pointless. It serves no purpose whatsoever. And the thing is, it can. That, in my opinion, there are three occasions when sex in video games have a valid reason to be there. Either it's some kind of gameplay mechanic. Funnily enough, that actually applies for The Witcher 1, where you could romance girls all around the world, and then you get these oil painting style cards.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I mean it's not much. I readily admit that. I don't want to oversell it, but it's something. You make a card collection game out of the romances in the game. Fine, it's there. Number two is you can make it a part of the storyline or character definition. I guess the sex scene in the Elven Baths in The Witcher 2 between Geralt and Triss counts somewhat. It shows some character. You can hear from my voice. I'm really reaching here, but you can. That's the general idea. You can implement it for story reasons, or number three for porn. Just
Yeah,
plain,
that's actually very very valid. I agree.
yeah, just plain old wank material. And you know what? I'd even be fine with that. I don't mind. And you would think that a bunch of corporations who keep babbling about their progressive nature and how they want to treat sex like adults, they would have no problems with that. As if we still have to pretend that people wouldn't jerk off to pretty much everything that has nipples on it, including probably the broodmother from that Dragon Age Origins add-on. um,
Yeah, okay. Let's not open that box.
let's not open that. There's too. We've seen too much internet to be comfortable with discussing this. But
Yes.
but to me, fine. All three of those in my book are valid reasons. But the thing is, they never do. They never made anything gameplay wise out of it because that would require some actual thought. And let's be honest, they've struggled enough with the little bit of gameplay they have in this game. They try often to make it into a character storyline thing, which they fail because no one wants to, as much as you think about the poor guy who has to code and animate a polygon dick against a polygon vagina, think about the guy who has to animate pornography with the distinct instruction, let her moan in a way that suggests something about her character. And for the third one, for the porn, they don't have the guts. I mean, maybe some viewers of this video's mileage may vary, but to me personally, the 15 seconds a sex scene in the Cyberpunk game takes, I'm sorry, that's not enough. I could try, but I don't think I can succeed in that record time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know what irks me as well, actually. They've made this almost a selling point how the games mature, how there's nudity, sex, etc., etc. But your character is actually only nude in the menu.
Yeah.
You have well, you have panties if you're a chick, or boxers if you're a guy, in the game itself. And I was actually kind of curious to see if the NPCs would react to me stripping naked, and then I discovered that was kind of half naked actually, because this was a mechanic in the Saints Row games. It was a mechanic in a GTA clone, which was not an RPG.
I actually
It
had.
was actually even a mini game. You could start streaking in the streets for money.
Correct. That actually.
And in Cyberpunk, no one cares.
No one
Which
cares, yeah.
which which is kind of immersive. Like in the far future, no one gives a shit. But
Yeah. Which actually, that's funnily enough, that came from the same guy who is now cursing out CDPR because he got the game on the PlayStation. Before the release of the game, he actually still tried to defend it. How quickly the table turns, right? He actually tried to argue that they did a lot of great things in the game and put a lot of effort into it. And one of the things he named is that uh, you increase your skills by using them. I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, it's accurate. If you use blades, you level up blades. If you run, you level up athletics.
Yeah, and to which I said, dude, we had that in Ultima 8.
Yeah.
And
Gabe?
Ultima 8 was released in 1994.
Yep.
And just for those who aren't aware of the Ultima games, Ultima 8, one of the worst Ultima games. Okay, this was not the pinnacle of video games at its time. Quite the opposite. And even that it had this mechanic. So I don't know. Try to come up with game mechanics that at least were developed in this decade.
Uh,
Uh, but yeah, I think now with the topic of sex, we've exhausted ourselves.
yeah, we've reached the climax of the video.
Precisely.
Yeah, but there was something I wanted to say now. I can't remember.
Reload your brain. Maybe it'll start then.
Oh, yeah. The one thing about that guy defending Cyberpunk before it came out. It's almost as if it's you cannot make valid arguments until something has has even been in your experience.
Sorry, I was just drinking something.
Funny how that works. How you can just imagine a good game.
Right? It looks like they put a lot of effort in. I said based on nothing.
Or concept art pictures in a trailer.
Dude, I don't know what happened. When they advertised their own game, it looked really good. But yeah, with that, I'd say we end at least the recording part of this little meeting.
Yep.
And to make one fitting final Soul Reaver or Legacy of Kain reference, here's to Cyberpunk 2077 Ve Victis.